here we are in between giving thanks and praising Jesus. And I bringeth unto you the cheapest turkey I could find. Who doesn't love Christmas? You get to eat a turkey. Turkeys can be daunting. It's not that bad. They're actually quite easy. We definitely have some good tips for you on how to have a successful turkey time. Step 1 in your turkey prep, buy a turkey. Buy as good of a turkey as you want or can afford. There's definitely a local turkey grower in your area. You can pre-order from them, or like me, in between Christmas and Thanksgiving here, bought the last one I could find at the grocery store. It'll work. It'll do what you need it to. The most important thing, defrost it in the fridge. You want to defrost in the fridge. You can't really defrost on the counter. It's going to sit there way too long and you're going to open yourself up to some bacterial growth. That's not always what you want. If I have a large turkey, I'm going to get it out of the fridge 5 days before. If it's a medium-sized turkey, probably 3 or 4. Doesn't make that much of a difference how big it is. It still takes a lot of time. The next thing we want to do is get salt on this turkey. And I mean, you want to put salt on it for a couple of days. Why? Because you want that salt to dissolve and get absorbed inside of the meat. What's that gonna do for you? Taste, moisture, juiciness, fanfare, adoration of your people at your table. They'll wonder why you made this turkey so delicious and what your secrets are. Well, and your secret is thyme and salt. One of the other great things about the salt is it's gonna dry the skin out and that'll make it a little more crispy. When you're first salting your turkey, you can take it and you could keep it in a bag or keep it wrapped up so it doesn't dry out too much. That's gonna give it the time to absorb. But definitely 24 hours before you're gonna put your turkey in the oven, get it uncovered, keep it in your fridge, and let the air start to dry out that skin a little bit. The water inside the skin is gonna keep it from getting crispy. You need that water to evaporate so that it can crisp up. There's not a crazy technique to salting the turkey. 1, use kosher salt. Stay away from table salt. Table salt has way more sodium and is ground really fine, and it's going to make it even saltier. 2, get it nice and evenly spread around the bird, including inside the cavity. The meat's thick enough and dense enough that you want to get it in from the inside as well as from the outside. Now we're going to pretend this turkey has been salting for a few days, which it hasn't. Only been merely moments that I finished putting the salt on this turkey. But let's pretend. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this turkey out of the fridge several hours before we're going to put it in the oven, probably 4, maybe 5. What we don't want to do is put a cold turkey inside the oven. What's going to happen if you do? The heat of the oven is gonna tank. The oven has to kick a whole bunch of heat in, try and heat the oven back up. So the cooking time's really gonna take a hit. So the better thing to do, 1 is preheat your oven. But what you can probably do is preheat your oven like 50 or 75 degrees higher than the temperature you want to cook at. So if you preheat your oven to 425 and you pull your turkey out of the oven maybe 4 hours before you're gonna cook it, then when you go to put the turkey in the oven, drop the temperature to 350. Then you're gonna be in good condition and it'll probably save you a half an hour or 45 minutes of cooking time. Now I got 2 last tips for you before we put this sucker in the oven. 1, we're gonna take the wishbone out now. When you go to carve the turkey, especially if you're gonna carve it standing at the top of the table, that wishbone's gonna snag your knife, it's gonna get in the way, it's gonna be a pain. What we can do right now is just debone it when it's cold. Of course, if you forget, you can take it out later before you carve, but it's hot. Now you're shoving your hand into someone's food. Better time to do it is now. Do you see right here where the tip of the knife is? That is the wishbone. It goes from kind of the shoulder here of the drumstick up to the keel bone. So I'm gonna just take my knife and I'm gonna find that bone. You can feel it going along the bone, and you go on the top and you go on the bottom. And the wishbone goes a little bit back. Try not to stab the breast too badly, right? That side's out. That side's out. Oh. Wishbone's out. Now that I got the wishbone out, it's gonna be really easy to carve the turkey. Changes very little else in the whole process. But that last step, especially when you've got a really great Japanese kitchen knife, you got a really fine-edged sujihiki to slice this guy with, avoiding bones is kind of what you're gonna wanna do. So this is gonna set you up for success, especially with your Japanese knife. You can take a little bit of the excess fat and skin off if you don't want it. And then for me, I'm gonna just stuff it back inside. What am I gonna do with this pound of butter and this turkey? I'm gonna take some of that butter and I'm gonna put it inside this turkey. Why? Butter makes it better. Just gonna take little slices of this butter and I'm gonna break it up. They're probably, I don't know, 5 mils thick. Does that matter? Not really. You need it to be thin enough that you can get it inside. Now that I got some of this butter broken up, I'm just gonna find my way in here. Gonna lift up a bit of the skin and just start shoving it underneath. When you do this, you're gonna separate the skin from the meat a little bit, and that's great. That's gonna help with the crispiness. So you can start by just sort of opening it up, firing the butter in there, down towards that joint. As we all know, turkey has a tendency to dry out. And the leg doesn't dry out as bad because it has more fat. So when we put a little bit more fat around the breast, that's gonna help out the breast and keep it nice and moist. I wanna get another piece right in the back. Hello. I have a buttered turkey. Most people are gonna stuff it with bread. I don't really do that. One, I don't really like that bread stuffing. It takes up a lot of space in my stomach for other delicious things. And if you leave it open, you get more air circulation inside. Cooks it pretty quickly. The idea is that you stuff a turkey so it cooks more evenly. I've done it both ways a number of times, and I don't find that makes that big of a difference. Often what happens is you're trying to cook your turkey without overcooking it. What happens is you undercook the stuffing. If you're worried about that, best thing you should do, once you've finished cooking your turkey, take it out of the oven, scoop all the stuffing out, put it in a casserole dish, put it back in the oven. You gotta make sure you cook that bread to the same temperature as the turkey, because now it's got a bunch of turkey juice in it. You wanna kill that bacteria. So get that bread stuffing up to like 160 Fahrenheit. You should be good. Okay, turkey's in the oven. I'm gonna give it a few minutes and I'm gonna pop the heat down to 350. It's a little high right now, but I want that temperature to come back up. Through the cooking process, I might put a piece of foil on top if it feels like the skin's getting crispier faster. There's all sorts of ways you can do it. You can start with the breast down and flip it over halfway. You can do all sorts of that stuff. I like to just put it in and kind of leave it. You can baste the turkey throughout the process. That's great. You take your baster, or I just use a spoon and spoon some of that fat and that dripping back over top. The one thing you don't want to do is pull open the door, pull out the oven rack, and sit there for a few minutes, letting all the heat out of your oven. If your turkey's small enough and you feel comfortable with it, I would say the best thing is just to take the turkey right out of the oven, put it on top of the stove, close the oven door, and then go at putting, doing the basting job. Then put it back in the oven. Or if you're gonna leave the oven door open, be quick about it. You don't want that temperature to drop down. Every time you open the oven door, a whole bunch of heat comes out and your turkey dinner gets further away. I got a decent amount of color on the skin of the turkey. I've given it a quick baste. I'm gonna hit a little piece of foil on top of this just so the color doesn't go too much darker. Near the end, I can pull this foil off again and get it crisped up again. Shameful plug here, you're carving something, get a good carving knife. To me, it's gotta be at least 240 millimeters long, but this 270 mil Fujimoto hammer tone is going to be a beauty. You want a nice long knife when you're carving, because a long knife gives you a long slice, and then you don't get shredded, ridged slices of meat. It's gonna look better, taste better, feel better. So we got two methods you can use. One, there's this classic Norman Rockwell, stand at the head of the table wearing your suit and carve a turkey, put it on people's plates. Cool, however, takes a long time. So the other way is is actually to debone some things, slice it, and then put it on a platter that you put on the table. My preferred method is the second one. However, let's go through the first one. Remember, first thing we did is we took out the wishbone before we cooked it. That's going to give us nice range of motion as we're slicing. We're not gonna run into that wishbone. The second thing that you didn't see and we haven't mentioned is we've let this turkey rest. It cooked for a couple of hours. We've let it rest for at least an hour. That way, even if it's overcooked, it's gonna reabsorb all the juices into the meat and still be nice and juicy. The juices won't run out all over your cutting board. Norman Rockwell style. I'm gonna get a couple things out of the way here so I have some nice, smooth spaces to slice. We're not gonna use this wing tip. That's gonna go over here. I actually put the wing tip in my turkey stock pot and then pull the wing off the drum. I'm gonna cut in between the breast and the leg here, just to open that up and move it out of the way. Now, I got a nice clear area to slice some turkey. I'm just gonna go across. Now, if you're standing at the head of a table, you probably don't wanna put your hand on it like I was doing. So, using a pair of tongs like this, the king tong is perfect to just slice up some turkey. And you see, this is when you really start to run into that wishbone. Isn't the end of the world, but it's just so much nicer to not have to worry about it. Now, when you want to get into the leg, cut in through and take the drum off. Someone wants that whole carnivorous lump for themselves. There's a lot of tendons in the drumstick. It's not going to carve nicely. You can sort of shred it apart if you'd like, or leave it for the family carnivore who just wants to munch on it. Now, to get into the thigh, we've already kind of pulled it out of the way here. Take our boning knife, take it off, flip it over. You want to locate the two ends of the bone. You're going to cut parallel to the bone. Until you start feeling like you're running into it. Put that on your plate, spin it around, and get the other half. Also want to give a shout out to having a great big cutting board. It makes this job so much easier. For side number two, I'm gonna take the breast off. I'm gonna use my boning knife and I'm gonna locate this center line here, which, see this bump right in the middle? And I'm gonna go just to the side of that bump. And then I can come straight down. If you're deboning a bird and you've got your wishbone left in, you're gonna run into it right about here. But coast is clear, so I just sort of push the breast meat away and take the breast off. Come in from the leg. There we go. So now we have the whole breast off, and the great thing is there's a grain in a breast. It's running this way. So if I'm gonna cut against the grain, I'll end up with a little bit of a more tender piece. So I like to actually remove the skin so it doesn't tear up, and not everyone likes the skin, but someone really does like the skin. So as a treat, instead of shredding it up, getting it lost, I actually just put it on the side and let someone who wants it eat it. Other times, people think it's gross. I think it's delicious. And now when we go into the leg, we're gonna do basically the same process as the other side. Save the big drumstick for your family carnivore. Pull off the drum, pull off the wing, and then you get in here and you get the thigh off. Now there's a little treat in here that's kind of the privilege of the person carving it. And it's right on the back side, on the back of the thigh. And this is called the oyster. And this piece of meat is very juicy and tender, so you get to eat it. It's usually the best piece of the whole turkey. Now we just take the leg apart, like you're deboning it. I like doing this because at the table, I have to use these tongs or a meat fork, and I don't like using those. But in the kitchen, I can just use my hand, which is clean. You want to learn some hacks for making your Christmas dinner simple? Check out one of these other videos. We love making stuff that helps you out. We like these great knives. They do such an awesome job at cooking and cooking something that we really love. So we hope you get to enjoy it with your friends and family this season. I hope this just helped you out making your Christmas carving job a little bit easier. The end. All right. Breathe in. Out. Are you intimidated by cooking a turkey? Don't be. It's simple. I'm going to show you an easy way to make a great turkey.